thank you all for coming out for our Michiganders Against Project 2025. It's incredible to see so many faces here tonight, ready to stand up for our rights and fight for them. I'm thrilled to announce, yeah, let's hear it. I'm thrilled to be able to announce that there are simultaneous rallies going on right as we speak, right this moment. There are in Farmington, Michigan, Holland, Michigan, and Marquette, Michigan. And I'll tell you, and I know this is the People's Republic of Ann Arbor, but don't think that we have more people here than they do in Marshall and Marquette. So we can be very proud of our outstate brethren who recognize the dangers the same as we do. I'm going to assume that this is the biggest thing in the progressive circles that hit there in a while, and that's why they're doing so well. But in total, we think we have about 2,000 people right now sharing a similar experience. That's right. Give yourselves a big round of applause. The format for this evening is that our speakers are going to speak for a maximum of 6 minutes each. Where's my timekeeper? Oh, there she is. And then they've all agreed to stick around and talk to you. So if you want to continue the discussion with your favorite speaker, you'll have that opportunity. And are there any public officials here besides the speakers? Anybody that needs recognition? Well, I think they're exhausted after a day of being out and about. So speaking of dedicated public officials, I can't let this opportunity go by without thanking Joe Biden for being the great patriot that he is. If there were more people like Joe who obeyed their oath of office and took it seriously, we'd be in a much better place. And speaking of dedicated public officials, I want to make an announcement. I've decided to suspend my campaign for presidency. I thought I had a chance, but Joe pointed out that this is a job for a younger woman. I thought I had a chance because I could walk down a ramp better than either of the two previous presumptive candidates, but no longer. I want to make it clear that this is not a rally to protest Project 2025. This is a rally to be informed, for you to understand the horrors that await us in America if it ever gets to see the light of day. And we're going to tell you collectively, the speakers, some of the things that's in it, and then we're going to, much later, I'm going to tell you what we can do about it, because there are things we can do about it and should do about it. So we can't depend upon the other party to take the interests of the American people to heart. We've already seen what a corrupt and conflicted Supreme Court can do. So we've got to win, we're going to win, and with that, I'm going to introduce our first speaker, Jay Kaplan. Jay, hold this for a second, because I've been told by the office I have to introduce you in a very specific way. Jay is with the ACL Michigan, Nancy Katz and Margot Dichtel-Miller, LGBTQ+ rights, where he is a project staff attorney.
We'll try to talk really loud. Thank you. Thank you. As Chuck mentioned, I am the staff attorney at the ACLU of Michigan's LGBTQ+ project. And I'm so glad that we're here today to talk about how we can be informed. And I think the first thing we need to address is that Donald Trump has said that he doesn't know anybody connected with Project 2025, and that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with his campaign. And I wanted to inform you on a couple of facts. 6 of his cabinet members were involved in authoring this Project 2025 document, and close to 36 people in his administration put this document together. And there is a videotape on YouTube of Trump speaking to a group of people from the Heritage Foundation and saying that what they are creating will be the template for his campaign. And then they are now saying that they have a new campaign plan called Agenda 47. And if you have a chance to look to see what that says, it pretty much mirrors what Project 2025 says. So I wanted to share with you just a few things, how it would impact members of the LGBTQ plus community. One of the things that Project 2025 would do is it would rescind all regulations from the federal government that have found that LGBTQ people are protected against discrimination on the basis of sex. So any government regulations from any of the departments of the government. Yes, that's worth booing about. The other thing that it would do is, even in states like Michigan that has comprehensive civil rights laws protections for LGBTQ people, this project would take away federal funding from public schools that support transgender students and permit them to use restrooms that align with their gender identity and refer to them in accordance with their preferred names and pronouns. Project 2025 would also take away federal funding from state Medicaid programs like Michigan that do cover gender-affirming health care for transgender people. Project 2025 would also allow for discrimination on the basis of religious beliefs. In other words, individuals, employers, medical professionals engaging in non-religious activity could be found to be exempt from civil rights laws based on their religious beliefs. And then one of the things that I thought was being made up in terms of the Project 2025, they call for the reinstatement of laws and ordinances that have been on the books before that would criminalize transgender people appearing in public. In other words, you could be arrested. And then, these are LGBTQ specific things, and we're not even talking about, dismantling the Department of Education, getting rid of the Department of Homeland Security, the increase and expansion of the executive powers that would allow the executive office to not only spy on individuals, but also to investigate their political rivals. So these are just a few of the things. It is so important that we be informed in this year's election. It is so important that we share this information and we not let people say this is just the Heritage Foundation, it has nothing to do with the current Trump campaign, because the facts indicate otherwise. And the most important thing that we can do this year in order to respond to this is to vote, and to vote informed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay. But wait, there's more. Ian Robinson, President of Huron Valley Area Labor Federation.
Thank you. Can you hear me? All right. Thank you. It's an honor to be here today, and I have colleagues here from AFGE, American Federation of Government Employees. Larry is from the VA, and Trish, where's Trish? Trish is here. You see her jumping up and down, is from EPA. So federal employees are some of the ones who will be most impacted by the kinds of changes that the Project 2025 proposes. Just go look at what time I started. So they have copies of a handout, 2 sides of a handout that I made, because there's so many things in Project 2025 that negatively impact workers. It's impossible in the 5 minutes that I have left to run through all of them in any serious way. But the National AFL-CIO, of which we're a part at the local county level has developed a very extensive analysis of it that identifies, I think, almost all, if not all, of the ways in which it impacts. On the handout, you'll be able to see the link to their website. And there's also, if you don't get a handout, I only made 30 copies. If there's not one available to you, you can get somebody who has one and take the QR code off the back. And that'll take you directly to a copy of the handout. So keep your eyes open for folks who have those. The things I'm going to highlight now, even though, I mean, most people are working people. Only 11% are able to be in unions right now, but 60% of people who are asked say they would vote for a union in their workplace tomorrow if they had the opportunity. They just don't. The laws are so stacked already that only 1 in 6 who wants to be in a union is able to be in a union under our current legal system. Well, guess what? They want to make it a whole lot harder to form a union or join an existing union. There's a bunch of ways in which they want to do that. It's well worth booing on. First of all, they want to dismantle all public sector unions. That is half of the entire organized labor. Of the 14 million people that are in organized labor right now, 7 million of them are public sector workers. So essentially they want to destroy half of the labor movement as kind of an opening move. Then they want to make it much harder to organize in the private sector, which would then be the only sector where you could organize, by making it easier for employees to fire workers who are engaged in collective organizing efforts, by making it impossible for employers, even if they want to voluntarily recognize a union, to simply say, okay, I agree as an employer, it's a good thing if our workers organize. I'm fine with that if that's what they want to do. I voluntarily recognize them. Well, guess what? This party that supposedly believes in free enterprise and letting employers do what they want to do says employers can't voluntarily recognize unions. They want to pass law that will allow state and local governments to opt out of the provisions of federal law that cover worker rights, the National Labor Relations Act of 1935, and that cover working conditions like the minimum wage, maximum work hours, time and a half for overtime, child labor. Opt out of all of that. They want to eliminate child labor laws. We need more children in the mines, people. They want to eliminate labor provisions that attach to federal projects right now. The federal government has massively expanded what it's doing to build the infrastructure we need for a sustainable economy going forward. And those federal projects have requirements that, for example, that project labor agreements require that union labor be employed, that certain conditions be met. The Davis-Bacon Act requires that a kind of prevailing wage, you may have heard that term, that's a sort of average wage in the particular area where this construction is being done, be followed. So it sets a kind of floor similar to a minimum wage that protects construction workers, union and non-union, from competitive bidding down of wages. They want to eliminate those provisions so that they no longer attach to federal projects. They want to privatize unemployment insurance. They want to exempt small businesses, and I don't know how small is small, but they want to exempt small businesses from OSHA requirements. Occupational Safety and Health Act, right? Worker Health and Safety. This is just a list. I think I'm down to about 1 minute. There are a lot of other ways in which workers are affected. This really undermines the quality of democracy in this country by, for just one example, and this applies to our federal brothers and sisters who are here today, they want to be able to basically eliminate the upper echelon of professional civil servants who are nonpartisan, have permanent jobs in the civil service, and replace them with Trump loyalists, essentially. So simultaneously throw out some of the most skilled and competent people that can lead our departments and our agencies of the federal government and replace them with people who will pursue ridiculous policies, harmful policies to the nation, to workers, to the environment, at Trump's bidding, and the bidding, I guess he's saying that it's going for $1 billion, is it, for the oil and gas industry to get his sort of support for whatever policies they might want. It's kind of been publicly stated as such. So anyway, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Hopefully you can see more if you're able to get a copy of the, what do you call this thing? Yeah, QR code, thank you.
Thank you, Ian. The menu of horrors goes on. Our next speaker is the Reverend Dr. Debby Mitchell Covington. She's a community activist, organizer, ordained pastor, poet, founder of All Things Artistic Ministries, and chair of the board of directors of the African American Cultural and Historical Museum of Washtenaw County. Debbie?
Good evening, everyone. In Deuteronomy 4 and 9, God commands his people, but watch out, be careful, never to forget what you yourself have seen. Do not let these memories escape from your mind as long as you live. And be sure to pass them on to your children and your children's children. My parents were born and reared in Richmond Hill, Georgia, 12 miles south of Savannah. In the 1950s, they moved to Ann Arbor, Michigan as a part of the Great Migration. My parents were what you call race people. They loved their blackness and taught us about the things they had seen, the victories we have won, and I did not let those memories escape my mind. When I was bused, along with 18 other children from my familiar neighborhood school, Jones Elementary School, to predominantly white Dickon Elementary School, I needed those lessons to survive. When I was treated as invisible by my white teachers, I knew that I was from a long line of great people. Their ignoring me did not mean I did not exist, because I had the fire of Harriet Tubman in my belly and the dignity of Sojourner Truth flowing from my lips. You don't know me, but ain't I a student? What have we seen? What must we never forget? We have seen people fighting for freedom by jumping off slave ships, marching in the streets, bitten by dogs, sitting down and standing up for freedom. We can't forget the cost of freedom. We can't forget our history. Project 2025 attacks our freedom to learn about what we've seen. It seeks to rewrite history by suppressing rights for marginalized people in this country. Their vision is to abolish the U.S. Department of Education and divert funding from public schools to private schools through voucher system and block grants to states. Woo! Woo! Marginalized students will not have the resources they need to learn at the same rate as voucher-supported private schools and academies. We must remember the inequities of both segregation in the South and de facto segregation in the North. We must not forget the memory of Brown versus the Board of Education. We must not let it escape from our minds, and we must pass them on to our children and our children's children. What do we remember? The struggle for equal access to education has been a long fight for Black Americans since the inception of U.S. slavery. Enslaved people were forbidden to read and write and were punished and even killed if their skills were discovered. What do we see? While college graduation rates for Black students still lag behind those of other racial groups, we have seen increases over the past 10 years. Woo! Whoop that up, that's important. Woo! According to Project 2025 will pump the brakes on this progress. According to Democracy Forward, the special, and I quote, the special interests behind Project 2025 want to kneecap the federal government's provision of student loans, taking away the ability of parents of college students to take out Parent Plus loans, graduate students to take out Graduate Plus loans, and undocumented immigrants to take out loans, federal loans completely. This would devastate the futures of millions of college people, college students. Author and journalist Ta-Nehisi Coates writes, "Racial progress is real, and so is racist progress." Let's stop Project 2025 by writing a history of racial progress winning over racist progress. We will not go back. We will not go back. And let's teach that to our children and our children's children. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie. I bet you didn't have any trouble hearing her. There's a lesson in that for me. Okay, our next speaker is Ellie Savit. You may know him and should know him as our Washtenaw County prosecutor. Ellie.
Well, first of all, I don't know how I'm supposed to follow Debbie, but I'm going to try. And I'm going to try by doing exactly what the authors of Project 2025 don't want us doing, which is talking about history. Because what they are trying to do is take us back, and take us back hundreds of years. I want to talk a little bit about the building blocks of Project 2025 and just how sweeping a right-wing takeover of the federal government it would be. Before 1883 in this country, government jobs, federal government jobs, were not given away based on merit. They were given away based on one's fealty to the President of the United States and their agenda, and based on corruption. Now, if you know anything about Donald Trump, he is corrupt, and he is a person that said he's going to be a day one dictator, and he demands fealty. We got rid of that spoiled system, that patronage system, in 1883, when President Chester Arthur, give it up for Chester Arthur, he doesn't get a lot of, that's why I love it, we can get a round of applause for Chester Arthur. Chester Arthur signed the Pendleton Civil Service Reform Act, which said that our federal government workers, except for the top-level political appointees, are going to be hired and judged based on the job that they can do for the American people, not based on corruption and not based on political ideology and loyalty to a president. Now that's important, y'all, because the federal government employs like 3 million people, approximately 3 million people. I don't want my mailman who's delivering my absentee ballots or my medication to be influenced by conservative ideology. I don't want the scientists who are researching infectious diseases to be motivated by political ideology. I don't want the prosecutors and the investigators that are meant to go after things like wage theft and civil rights violations to be motivated by political ideology. They should be doing what's right for the people. Project 2025, by seeking to install Trump loyalists across every sector of government, would eviscerate that. And I can go on. The document is 900 pages long, people, so I can't talk about all of it, but I just want to highlight a few things. This is a direct quote from Project 2025. They want scientific research that is funded by the federal government to align only with conservative principles. That means no more research towards climate change. They want to do away with regulations that seek to combat climate change. And it also means, think about this. I don't know if you guys remember, we just had a pandemic. And Donald Trump, the person that these people would have to be loyal to, and whose ideology they'd have to follow, stood up there and he said, I think we should be injecting bleach into our veins to fight COVID. It's nuts, but Project 2025 says research needs to align with conservative principles, presumably as dictated by President Trump. That's dangerous. With respect to civil rights, another direct quote from Project 2025. They want to get rid of civil rights enforcement altogether. But they said that in the interim, we are going to use the civil rights divisions to, quote, investigate and prosecute government officials, university officials, and businesses who have had the temerity to promote diversity in the workplace or in education. Investigate and prosecute. That is weaponization. And that's unacceptable. And the last thing I'm just going to talk about. I'm wearing this t-shirt that I got in 2022 when the Supreme Court of the United States overturned Roe versus Wade. But I'll tell you what we did in Michigan. We fought and we organized and we got reproductive rights enshrined in our Constitution. Project 2025 seeks to eviscerate that hard-fought win here in Michigan by enforcing something called the Comstock Act, which goes back even further than the Pendleton Act to 1873. This is an act that prohibits shipping abortion medication or abortion instruments through the mail. And what that would do, if it is enforced, could lead to an effective ban on abortion nationwide. This isn't a new law they're trying to enforce. This is a law that they say they can enforce on the books to get around what we did here in Michigan in 2022 to get reproductive rights in our Constitution. But I'll tell you what, I know this. We worked our asses off in 2022 to collect signatures, to mobilize voters, to get Prop 3 enshrined and the Reproductive Freedom for All ballot initiative passed. We in Michigan, we stood up and we said, you are not going to take us back, United States Supreme Court, and I know we're going to do the same thing with respect to Project 2025. Instead of letting them win, we are going to show them, and we are going to show them not by resigning women into second-class citizenship, not to going back before the Pendleton Act, but to electing our first female president of the United States, Kamala Harris. Let's do this.
Thank you, Ellie, for telling it like it is. Now, I had the honor of speaking to Debbie Dingell probably just a couple hours ago, and I suggested that she, being the last person on the bill, tell a story that I once heard, but on reflection, I thought it'd be better if I told it, because she is a demure lady after all. It's the story of Elizabeth Taylor's 8th husband on their honeymoon night. He knew what he was supposed to do, but he didn't know how to make it original. So, Debbie, I don't know how you're going to follow all these speakers, but make it original as much as you can. And how many people have you spoken with so?
Thank you, Chuck. I hope you can all hear me. I'm losing my voice again because I've been talking too much. And I'm not going to stop talking till after November. You know, it's really, I want to thank everybody who helped organize tonight, and I want to thank the previous speakers. But actually, the fact of the matter is, you haven't heard a lot of things that I want everybody to remember that this is the Trump 2025 project. Not the 2025 project, the Trump 2025 project. And we're really here to learn about the Trump Project 2025 because a lot of people do not know what's in it. It's 900 pages. And the things that are, I actually thought everybody would have said everything that's in it. I'm going to go to, Donald Trump is right now, and he tries to distance himself from it, but more than 125 people that worked for him helped write this project. And we have to talk about it. We have to, look, you wouldn't be here in Ann Arbor on a Saturday night if you weren't engaged and caring. But and you are. That's why you're here. But there are a lot of people who are working hard, that are struggling to put food on the table. They don't have time to learn. Let's start, and we got to learn how to talk about, there's 900 pages, 900. And we've got to learn how to talk about all the evil and damage that they want to do in this. Nobody has talked about, first of all, we need to tell seniors he wants to eliminate Social Security as we know it. People have no idea. They wanted to do it before. Now, Donald Trump is a very good two-sided talker. So he is a liar. That is after, how many lies did he tell during the debate? He also, let's talk about health care for a minute. Doesn't give a damn about Medicare. Wants to cut that, wants to cut Medicaid as, excuse me for swearing, Reverend. Wants to cut Medicaid, but he wants to eliminate the Affordable Care Act. So I want you all to think about what that means for a minute. You don't, some of the young people cannot imagine a time with people with a pre-existing condition could not get insurance. That is the first group that's going to be impacted. Anybody with a pre-existing condition will not be able to get or afford health insurance. We finally reduced the price of insulin to $35 per month, and we're going to negotiate better prices under Medicare for drugs because people pay too much money for prescription drugs. People don't know that that's what he's going to do. Now, Ian did a very good job of talking about labor rights. I want to take it more basic. I'm going in every union hall I can because union workers don't know. I'm going to tell you something. I warned you all. Michigan delivered Donald Trump's presidency because nobody believed me when I said he could win in 2016. I want you to go talk to every worker you know, union and non-union, and tell them Donald Trump doesn't believe in overtime and is going to take away overtime pay. That's something every worker in America understands. He wants to give his billionaire friends cuts, wants to give them tax cuts and raise taxes on the middle class. He wants to let corporations give them tax incentives, not pay taxes for going overseas. By the way, this is a man that has enemies. I unfortunately, I guess I should wear it as a badge of honor, am one of his enemies. But he wants to use... He doesn't like me. He doesn't like me because I say things like, rotten hell isn't a Christmas message. That was it isn't. But he, in this document, and you wouldn't be here if you didn't care. Get this 900-page document and read it. Because he wants to use the military to exact revenge on his enemies. Ellie talked about, we do need to worry. I believe that every woman has the right to make her own health care decision, period. He talked about that a little, but what he also didn't, because none of us have enough time, it's 900 pages. He doesn't want women to have access to birth control, period. He doesn't, I'm someone who desperately tried to get pregnant. He wouldn't let women like me have access to IVF. And let me tell you, what this man is, he goes and he brags. One of his proudest accomplishments was the overturning of Roe versus Wade. But at the same time, he knows that women want to make their own health care decisions and goes to Wisconsin and tells them don't put it in their platform. That's a liar, it's a two-faced liar, and don't let him get away with what he is telling you. We need immigration reform. We've needed comprehensive immigration reform in this country for decades. Decent and honorable Republican presidents have tried. Democrats have tried. What does he want to do? Do you remember what we did week one of his last presidency? He wanted to deport millions of people. That is not the way to do it. We do not want deportation. We want a legal system of immigration in this country. I could go on. The list is long and scary. Every American in this country needs to worry about what another Trump presidency would do. There is no stakeholder that would not be impacted. Don't we think everybody's got a right to drink clean water? They don't think that we should test it or make sure that they've got clean water. If you're a veteran, I want you to have access to the best health care there is. He wants to privatize it. He doesn't care about farmers. He doesn't care about young people. He thinks seniors should be left there. I won't say it. Anyway, I'm just here to tell you tonight, educate yourselves. Learn what's in Trump Project 2025. It is, do you know what he said last night? Did you all hear this last night? They said, Christians, you must vote in this election, and then you'll never have to vote again. That's a dictator. But I want to say this to you. Learn what's in Project 2025 and put it in language that everybody understands. The people you're talking to will understand how their lives will be impacted and what their future could be. That's what we must do between now and November. Define what the contrast is in the next two presidencies. A healthy future, thriving democracy and economy, or a dictatorship. So thank you for caring. Please, we got so much at stake, and I'll turn this back to you.
We can't be represented any better than that. You just heard why 3 weeks ago Distill Social said, we got to stop all this talk about Biden's age. We need people to understand what is in Project 2025. Because if they truly understand what their lives will be if they elect Donald Trump, we're going to win. That's why we organized this evening. And for your job, and I think you heard that, you have to be educated, and then you have to educate others. And Distill Social has a way for any one of you, every one of you, to help. Whether you like to send postcards, or letters, or emails, whether you're active on social media, and I want to talk about social media for a moment. An independent organization, unbeknownst to us, evaluated Distill Social's social media. And they said, we tested it, it's some of the top stuff in the country in terms of changing people's attitude. And they gave us a very nice grant. You notice we're not out here shilling for your dollars tonight because we've been recognized. However, you can help us with social media. If you like our content, if you share our content, if you comment on your content, the algorithms in social media will see that more people see that. No matter what it is that you like to do, we have a way that you can help. And on every one of our signs here, you see a QR code. Scan that QR code, and we will inform you of other events like this, and how you can educate yourself, and how you can, we'll give you emails to share with others, suggested videos to share with others. So please, please join us. And we also would like you to sign up, and many of the greeters who were around here earlier have a QR code. We started a Facebook page a couple weeks ago for Michiganders who against Project 2025. It's growing like crazy. The last time I looked, it was well over 6,000 people are a member of this group. Scan that QR code, join the group. Again, you will be informed and given ways of sharing. So it's our job to educate American voters, and all but the most hardened and delusioned MAGAs have to take seriously what we are taking very seriously ourselves. I would like to thank the Ann Arbor Police Department for keeping us safe. And all of you, and especially all of our amazing speakers who, did they stick to the timeline? They were wonderful. I also want to thank our volunteers, and I know there are many of you in this audience who shared word of this event. We have a terrific turnout here, and we're very proud of that. And especially A2D2 and Ann Arbor Indivisible. I'm sure there are many others who shared this. Another thing you could do is we want to blanket the state with the yard signs. And you've seen some people here with yard signs. If you want one and you don't have one, go back to the tables there. I hope there's some left. If not, we'll take your name and we'll let you know when we get our next shipment in. So, as I said earlier, speakers are going to stick around. They're happy to talk to you. And finally, let's keep the energy high. Let's stay positive. And let's show everybody what Michiganders are made of. We've made amazing progress, and we're not going to let anybody take that away from us.